Buckaroo Banzai. It's the latest issue.
People often ask me, did you know what you were doing as far as tone, attitude of the actors, all the performances? What were you actually thinking about every day when you were making this movie? And the honest answer is it was too overwhelming to have worked out a specific tone for it. But I think what I brought to it was a sensibility that was deeply impressed by Mac's script.
He really understood what he wanted those characters to feel like and how they carried their part of the story.
It was my job to convince you that no matter how crazy a plot development was, a line of dialogue was, the people in the movie would deliver it as if it weren't. That they would just go at it as if it was the most normal thing in their lives. And that was an anchor.
W.D. Richter was stunning, absolutely phenomenal. Never worked with anybody like that before or since.
He was just a genuinely nice, very, very intelligent individual.
And I thought he was really good with his actors too. From what I observed, I think he was really good with actors.
I think that the cast loved him. He presented himself as a veteran. You would never have believed it was his first time directing.
His directing style was very kind of a cross between Woody Allen and Jack Nicholson, somewhere in there.
He said, because I like the way you improvise, he said, I want you to feel free to do whatever you want to do. He said, just tell me where you're going to walk so I can have the camera ready to follow you. That's how free he was as a director.
He would say, well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? Well, and it took so long to get through sometimes rehearsal like that, when you let every actor have an input. And there were a lot of crazy actors in this movie. So we all had a lot of input, and he would work through every person's, and then he could bring it all together in some kind of symphonic moment.
You got the guy, Ron. Suck it all and try. Any antidote for these things?
No, not at all.
Does that mean you're on our side? Okay. That's right.
I think the cast was very much in sync with W.D. Richter's vision for the movie, and I think everybody seemed to feel like we were helping him make this vision.
Everything was wide open. Eric Nelson, our prop guy, wrote that line, Declaration of War, the short form. Mac didn't write that. And, so we're getting ready to shoot the scene, and he's got to have some document handed to him. And Ron Lacey starts laughing because he just opened it up, and I look at it and say, oh my God, close up. We're going to get a close up of that. And the spirit on the set was that. Everybody felt like you could come up to me and tell me anything. I don't care what your job was on the movie. If you had an idea, don't keep it to yourself, because it might be a very special moment.
Declaration of War, the short form.
You can see budget constraints in places, because the guy playing the drums is a wonderful black guy with Rasta hair. He was a session musician who was too expensive for us to incorporate as an ongoing cavalier. And that's always bothered me, because it just looks cool when he's up there, and I think, I want to see him, in the movie. And especially you think, wow, that would be interesting to bring him up against John Parker, who's obviously seen a Rasta somewhere and said, that's the identity I'm going to assume. And then he's got a real one in front of him. No, you can't have everything. You just don't have the money or the time to do all the stuff you want to do. So. Ronald Lacey came in and got the movie immediately. He had a very strange sensibility, which I admired, and loved the idea that the president was going to be recovering from a hemorrhoid operation, and he would only be in this kind of hamster cage, if you will, and that his performance would be locked down to that thing moving. And to embellish it, Ron decided to do a slight variation on Orson Welles. But it wasn't a dead-on impression. It was enough to make Beagleman say, what's wrong with his voice? Not, oh, he's doing Orson Welles, but I don't like that voice. What is it? We can't leave that in the movie. And those are decisions that I had to make repeatedly. Am I going to dig my heels in here and jeopardize the movie? So you say, okay, in post, we'll loop him. And you think, he's not going to remember this. But he did remember. And he said, we've got to hire somebody to loop Ron Lacey. And it was really sad, because the performance was really nice. Ron really enjoyed it and got into it. And it was tough to loop it and make it fit. You know, it's not something you want to do. It's tough enough to have an actor loop himself, but to just bring somebody else in to try to sound like you're actually there performing, unnecessary, waste of money, waste of time, and actually off the spirit of the film. Tragic on every level, and if you let that happen enough, you lose the movie.
Buckaroo, Secretary of Defense McKinley and my National Security Advisor Smirnoff are visiting me, but I have no secrets from them.
You know, you remember things in any movie that you're involved in because either they're a wonderful moment or a really trying, difficult, and unpleasant moment, and probably especially the first film you direct. When you run into a serious problem, it's burned forever into your psyche. And the one in Buckaroo that is the most difficult for me to really understand, and it was the most stressful to deal with, was a moment when Peter Weller had his red glasses on for the first time. And it was a minor scene in the movie, but Beagleman saw the dailies and said, "What's he doing wearing red glasses?" And there's no answer to that. It's because we think it looks cool, or why would we do it? He said, "Well, heroes don't wear red glasses." Just said it that way. And I'm sitting in his office with Neil Canton and Sidney Beckerman, our executive producer. So I said, "Well, what do you want me to do about it? I mean, he's on film wearing them." And Beagleman says, and he had an imperial way behind his desk, he said, "Well, how many more times were you intending to use them?" And I had no idea. So I said, "Twice." And he said, "All right, but not a fourth time. And Sidney, you're a witness to this." So we used him once more, no comment. And Beagleman had on the set his assistant, Mike Nathanson, who's since gone on to other things. And his job was to watch us all day long, unashamedly. And he was a nice guy. It was like, I want this job. I want to be sitting there annoying these people. But he was there, so Beagleman had eyes and ears on the set at all times. And he'd obviously said to Mike Nathanson, after I used them twice, if he uses them again, let me know. So we're bringing Buckaroo out in the wardrobe that requires the red glasses, and I'm totally relaxed. And we start to shoot, and Mike Nathanson had to scurry away, because that was his job, and tell Beagleman, they are shooting Buckaroo in red glasses again. So Nathanson is sent back to tell me, we're shutting the movie down right now. Not canceling it, but you're not shooting this scene right now. You have to go to David's office with Neil and talk to him. And Sidney is in the room. And Beagleman basically is accusing me of being duplicitous and saying, "I told you you could only use them twice." And I said, "You didn't. You said I could put them on a third time." And he said, "I did not." And Sidney Beckerman said, "No, David, you told him, I was sitting here, he could do it a third time." And David said, like, it didn't matter what he just said to me. "I did?" Sidney said, "Yeah, you did." He said, "Oh, okay, well, you can use them then, but don't do it a fourth time." Okay. And, you know, probably lost 2 or 3 hours of that day. Had to go back, start everything all up again, and you couldn't do it the next day because you didn't have that location. That's the kind of stuff that was happening all the time.
Electroids from Planet 10.
Little Philip on that scene is, so he's sitting there saying, better not use them a fourth time. And if you use them a fourth time, I'm going to shut this movie down or fire you. And I will have a deal memo written up by Frank Bauer, who's his right-hand man, for you to sign tomorrow, saying that if you fall a day behind schedule, changes this, a day behind schedule and you're the cause of it, that you forfeit your whole salary. And my agent heard that night, and he said, "No way are you signing that document." And I said, "He will shut it down." And we're probably a month into it. It's working nicely. There's so many actors who have done such great work, and production people and stuff. And if he shuts it down, a lot of them don't have contracts. They're out of work tomorrow. Plus, on general principles, I want to make this movie. So I signed the document against everybody's better judgment. It was an incredible motivator. Nobody ever dogged it. Not that they were doing it, but they worked double time to make sure we made that schedule.
Why is there a watermelon there?
I'll tell you later.